This episode is brought to you by numerous people who have given to our Patreon. That's at patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. That's our thanks generally for folks who have given us a bunch of money and gotten a lot of cool stuff in return. If you would like a specific thanks, you can back at the $10 tier. And be sure to fill out the little form there that our FAQ and, reward notification points you to. And we'll throw you on the beginning here. So yeah, patreon.com/duckfeedtv. Thank you.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we are talking about Mark of the Ninja, which is a side-scrolling stealth game developed by Clay Entertainment and published by Microsoft Studios for the PC and Xbox 360 in 2012.
Yeah, and this episode was executive produced by Brian.
Thank you, Brian. This game rules.
Yeah, I rather like it. I had been meaning to give it an honest shot for a long time. I bounced off it initially for no good reason, like barely got anywhere. And it was just like, want to play something with gun. I don't know what it was. Just something.
It was 2012. We were busy.
I was being a baby of some kind. I would say that's probably what it was. I was like working full time and podcasting full time and wanted to die and just got divorced and like all the, you know what, past Gary, I forgive actually in retrospect.
Gonna let you off the hook.
Mark of the Ninja came out at a dark time for me, but it was fun to go through it. Like this is good.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's emblematic of an era of indie games. There's an awful lot of craft to it as well. Like it is kind of like this really good, like quintessential 8.5. Yeah.
That's a great way to put it. Like this didn't knock my socks off. And there are things this game is asking of, like, it wants to be a game that you play levels over and over for mastery and to collect things and 100% and stuff. And, fucking no, you know, like I like, that's not where I'm at with this, but as a thing to go through once, it was a breezy joy.
Yeah. So,
I
very much liked it. And also weirdly of a pair with, Cuphead, not in terms of difficulty or even play really, but in terms of faithfully mimicking a very specific kind of animation.
Oh man, I actually really don't like the animation of this. It looks like Jackie Chan Adventures mixed with Aaron Insurance. To me, like
that's kind of what it's
awful.
doing. Yeah,
I know, but it's a horrible thing to emulate. I think like Klee's weird. We'll talk about that. But like, man, I do not like how the cutscenes in this look. The little characters are fine. The cutscenes just, again, Jackie Chan Adventures. And that was a TV show. That's not me just, being racist. That was just actually
naming a very prominent Chinese. Yeah.
It was a cartoon that looks like, I'm not just naming a person. It was a cartoon.
Yeah.
You have here that you play an unnamed ninja. The name of the ninja is certainly Mark Oda Ninja. So you play as Mark. Yeah, he's Irish. He's an Irish ninja named Mark Oda Ninja. You're playing Mark. So just correcting that in the notes.
Okay, cool. So as Mark, you are from the Hisomu clan, which is a clan of ninja that is operating in modern day Japan. And you have received this tattoo made of special ink that amplifies your abilities but drives you mad.
Yes.
You've taken this in order to exact revenge upon your clan's enemy, this CEO named Karajan, who runs an arms dealer that goes by the name of Hessian.
Yes. Yeah. They mostly deal in Zildjian symbols and big grungy amps
It's
and
so
stuff.
that I fucking there was just one guy who said, "Yeah, people who like this one particularly were they had the Hessians, yeah."
Yeah.
Weird internet metal subculture shit. It's like, uh,
uh, so this is a rare example of a 2D stealth game, 2D side scrolling stealth game.
yes, yeah.
You know, that doesn't typically happen. It's like this in Gunpoint.
Hmm.
You jump around, you evade enemies by sticking to the shadows, clinging to walls, clinging to some of the ceilings, uh, and grappling around.
Yeah.
Generally, there are certain points that you can quick grapple to. They are bespoke, but you can
Hmm.
get to them as long as you can see them. Basically,
Yeah. It's actually a really good grapple system. Like, this is not the place where you would want a Bionic Commando physics grapple system.
it's very to an end. Like we'll talk about it kind of holistically, but like all of
Yeah.
these things, this is a game where I can almost see bouncing off it based on how clean it is.
Yeah.
It's
No.
exceedingly clean,
Hmm.
and I don't know what other word for it, to use, but it's a very controlled experience, which I think is part of why going through it once is what makes sense to me.
Right,
You know,
because once you know the solution, the actual execution of it is very rarely like a problem. There's not a lot left up to chance.
no,
Like enemies will occasionally like look another way, which I think is a very good decision on their part. It's not just like, okay, I'm going to look at this door no matter what. There's a little bit of
mm,
randomness to the glances kind of thing. But yeah, this feels about as deterministic as a stealth game has been.
yes, yeah,
It is.
deterministic is the word. It's very yeah, very
Yeah.
narrow scoped.
Yeah, it is not the kind of chaotic clash of systems that something like a thief is, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
it's very much a third option. It's
yeah,
also not a do this right or die Metal Gear either.
right.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We'll talk about how this
Yeah,
sits in the like stealth canon as kind of a
hmm,
new unique thing.
yeah. A unique thing that is kind of in the neighborhood of a 2D Batman Arkham game, actually.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty important that there is no fall damage in this as well.
Hmm.
You're going to be making some leaps. There are going to be some misses that you make. This is, just entirely about moving through space with very little consequence aside from getting cut, or aside from getting caught, rather.
Yeah. Caught or shot.
Yes.
Um, so what you're doing, because it's side scrolling, you're seeing a large swath of the environment. You have an omniscient point of view that's outside of your character. You can see behind yourself.
Hmm.
You can see above yourself, things like that. You have to learn to read these environments
Yeah.
and find that information. There's some fog of war. There's some like little wrinkles to that, but basically, you go into a room, you read the challenge, and then figure out how to dismantle it piece by piece
Yes.
through this as kind of a little bit of a puzzle.
Hmm.
It's not entirely without improv,
Right.
but generally it is.
Yeah. It's like a less, when you think about it in terms of being an order of operations thing, it is like a less bloody and less chaotic, like Hotline Miami kind of deal.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, way
Uh,
slower. Like
oh,
with a much way
way,
different
way
pace of
slower.
play than that. But
Yeah.
like contrast, we did what is it, Katana Zero, where
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like a
Yeah.
ninja that's kind of a Hotline Miami thing,
Hmm.
but also has a much faster pace of play. It's kind of like a slow version of that at some points.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
The levels themselves are big hallways, which is fine.
Hmm.
Like there's probably a version of this that would have, more open levels. Big defined spaces where you've got to kind of navigate them. That's just not what this is. This feels like it is a bit of a throwback in that regard. Feels a lot like an old micro PC game like
Like
that.
elevator action
Yeah.
or something. The thing that this is the interesting way this impacts the game for me is that to get from point A to point B, there are like several different routes to
Yes.
get in between there. I like being able to pick a route. I do not like the way that this game does collectibles, which we'll talk about later, which they'll
Yeah, yeah.
hide in one of the spokes, which would encourage you to take every route between
Mhm.
A and B to get all the thingies.
Yeah.
Never in a million years.
Nope.
And
To
they don't make the environments interesting enough to where I'd want to explore them otherwise.
yeah.
Like basically my choice between different routes between A and B was whether I wanted to be creeping from the floor or the ceiling
Mhm.
into a specific encounter room. Like that was the choice.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I'm going to go up into this other area because there's something interesting to see there or something worthwhile to get there. It was just, what angle do I want to attack this room
Mhm.
from?
Yeah. Or like, do I want to try and get over this building instead of going through it? Stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is open enough to where like if one of those paths ends up not working for you with like the loadout that you have, things like that, you can always back around and go take another one. We can talk about those collectibles now because I don't actually have a bullet point specifically about that. Like in order for those to exert any pressure on me, I have to care at all to
It's
see them.
it's one of the bigger failures of the game. I
Yeah.
think like a game that I generally think is good. Like when you say a consummate 8.5, like that's basically where I'm at too. Things that stop this from being an all timer. One of them is that there is a collectible system that drives an economy, both of which I think are bad
Hmm.
and not worth engaging with.
Yeah.
You have you get collectibles. The reason why you get them is either to get lore bits or to get additional honor points.
Hmm.
Something that can just be measured out in points. Like I have an honor between 1 and 9. Like just check out the honor meter on this guy. To get different honor points to put into a tech tree. The tech tree is pretty unsatisfying to me.
That's
They
weird.
give
I
yeah.
I ended up feeling okay about the tech tree actually.
So
Go
so many of them
go ahead
felt
and
like
lay it out.
things
Yeah.
it felt like buying things that should have been unlocked from the start.
Okay.
So things like being able to do a stealth kill from above,
Mhm.
like things that Batman Arkham just lets you do. They
Mm.
nickel and dimed you for. And then the unlocking different weapons, like most of them you just unlock through the story.
Mhm.
And what you would spend the tech tree on were upgrades that did not feel very meaningful to me. Like
Yeah.
making my smoke grenade, which I used to disappear, making it also poison enemies. I couldn't care.
Yeah.
It wasn't how I was using it,
I,
you know?
I guess by the end, like the ones that I felt because I wasn't getting the collectibles, I had very few points, and therefore I kind of was riding the line, always spending pretty much everything I had to get the upgrades that did matter. So,
Mm,
like, the poison gas one, not necessarily very attractive. I'm sure there's a use for it, but it just wasn't the way I was playing. But like the timed release on the noisemakers ended up changing the way
mhm,
that I played. And the ability to silently throw the spike traps ended up being super important just because of how tight the guard patrols were. Because I was constantly, by trying to avoid alerting somebody by throwing the spike traps, throwing it to a point just before they would end up stopping and turning
mm,
around, and they would never walk over it. So just having the ability to throw them at will, like there were enough of those meaningful upgrades, and I was not necessarily bothered by unlocking particular stealth kills because like that felt like, you know, I felt like the base vocabulary was enough for me,
mm.
and those upgrades were kind of just icing on the cake, adding a little bit of new flow to the play for me.
I just did. I never had the problem where like the spike. I was just using the gas grenade one as an example, but like
Yeah, yeah,
generally across the board, like the spike
yeah.
one, the noise radius for them was so small.
Hmm.
I never had a problem getting that down
Yeah.
where an enemy wouldn't hear it.
Hmm.
And the stealth kill thing, like there's a degree to which you could do that
Yeah.
and make that work. I think like you don't have to have everything unlocked, but it just felt like I was literally buying every kind of stealth kill other than walk up behind somebody.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
first time I was like, why can't I do a drop attack on this guy? Like that is a basic stealth verb.
Mhm.
And then realized I had to buy it. I was bummed.
Yeah.
My other mark against the upgrade system is that a bunch of them are combat things. There's several like rising strike and all these things.
Yeah,
And
I
like,
didn't care
you're
about
never
that.
going to do combat in this game.
Nope.
What is the point of these?
And to
So
yeah.
I just ended up feeling, I don't know, like it wasn't very exciting to spend money
Yeah, yeah.
in this.
Yeah. There are like
Um,
challenge levels in this too. And, that was more like the first one that I found was a block pushing level. And I was like, nah,
I did a
I'm
couple of those
good.
initially, and then I was like, "Fuck this!" Like,
Yeah.
it's a weird game where to be, we talk about we have like a kind of a network stance on the dollar per hour ratio thing as being
Hmm.
bunko. Um, if I did care about that, I would really need to engage with these alternate systems for this to feel like it was meaty enough,
You know,
like to get it at the time. And I was not enticed by any alternate system,
yeah,
in the game, which I think is a legitimate problem.
it
It's not
is.
it's
Yeah.
not a Vorpal flaw. It's not a huge deal, but there's one of the things that a criticism or like an anti-criticism, a defense I get frustrated by is, oh, you can ignore it.
Hmm.
And like you can ignore a lot of things in a game, but the game is still spending time trying to entice you with it. The game is still designed around it.
Hmm.
It doesn't really matter that you can technically ignore it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's if it's still in the game and it's not adding a lot, if it's not doing enough to make itself fun to justify itself,
You know,
that still kind of sucks.
yeah.
If that makes sense.
It ended up being this weird thing for me where those individual systems, the upgrade and the collectibles, they were each week, but they were weak in such a way that they leaned on each other. And it's like, okay, I don't care to go and find these things, which means I have less money, but that's okay because there's not really much I want to buy.
No, there's very little that's enticing. It's also not a hard game.
Yeah, that's also
Uh, you
true.
know,
Yeah,
it's very generous, and even at its most difficult, it's not rigorous at all on the base difficulty.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
IMO.
Yeah. So let's talk about the actual stealth and stuff
Yes.
because this is this is a pretty big. It's everything here. So you have light and darkness, like you would always expect in a stealth game. I like the
Hmm.
way they communicate this. If you or an enemy is not colored in, if you are just like a black silhouette with outlines, then you are not lit up and therefore cannot be spotted at a distance.
Yep.
Eventually, you get enemies who have night vision goggles, but that's not until about like halfway through the game. And you can manipulate the light sources by throwing items at them to create zones of
Yes.
darkness for you.
Yeah, which creates noise, which we'll talk about in a moment.
Yes.
The enemies have vision cones, but this is just kind of showing which direction they're looking in. So typically, if their vision cone is pointed away from you, you can sneak up on them.
Hmm.
But the trick is, and you alluded to this earlier, unlike a Metal Gear guard, these characters have articulated necks. Like a Metal Gear guard always sees what's in front of their torso. It's almost like they have a giant eye on their chest,
Like
as
Iron Man.
opposed, yeah, like Iron Man. Like they're seeing out of their chest eye, they're not seeing out of their head eyes. These guys can turn their head.
It's
It's a weirdly uh big momentous thing in stealth games that they can turn their head,
yeah. It
you know?
adds it adds kind of like a micro timing to this, and just the smallest chance of your best laid plan going awry.
Yeah.
Which in a game that's deterministic, your mileage is going to vary on how much that feels like it is dirty pool. I like that. I like needing to take that into account. Somebody
Yeah.
getting just a little bit of a hunch to look the other way.
Yeah. Well, and it will be informed by their emotional states or their alert states.
Yeah.
Like if they're paranoid, if they know something's going on, their head's going to be on a swivel.
Yes.
It's significantly more naturalistic than just a guard walking back and forth to look
Right.
back and forth.
Yeah. I do not like the stance that you were taking on people who have had their cervical discs fused, though.
You knew this when you met me, man. I just those cervies, they gotta
There's
go.
there was a whole episode of Dead Idea Valhalla about it.
Yeah, yeah, man. I've been really, if your discs are welded, go to hell,
It,
dude.
if your discs are fused, yeah, you don't have a use.
Yep, I refuse. You are refuse. I actually don't mind anybody with bad discs.
Yeah,
I love
whatever.
your
It's coming.
discs.
It's coming for us all eventually. Uh,
Yeah, my discs
so-
get worse every day.
yep.
The enemies are only visible if we have line of sight or line of hearing. Basically, like you can press up against a wall or a ceiling and kind of listen to see
Hmm.
in a weird way. Eventually, you get detective vision, so you can just see
Yeah.
your kind of environs.
God,
Again, the weird way that it doles out things that feel like you should have a little
yeah.
bit to me.
I love that just the word for that is detective vision. Like, it's
It's real
such a
silly.
it's extremely silly. Like, I don't know that they knew when they called it that, like, "Oh, Batman's a detective. Detectives know and see all," so
Yeah, detectives, they don't just try to stop people from doing insurance claims. They it's also it lost out to like skeleton vision. I
Oh,
remember
yeah?
people when Batman came out calling it skeleton mode or skeleton
Mm.
vision, which is way cooler.
Much
Uh,
cooler.
the the big innovation of this, other than articulated necks, is visualizing sound.
Right.
It is a 2D game. You don't have three-dimensional sound. Using sound and stealth has always been a little bit of a losing game in some ways because it relies on a surround sound system.
Mhm.
So directional sound is a real cool thing that video games can do. I'm not against it. It's just naturally not inclusive. It
Mhm.
depends on your speaker placement and your sound setup
Yeah.
for that to work with the precision you need a game. What this game does to get around that is just visualize sound.
Mhm.
It's a really abstract kind of weird way to do it, but it's again to a purpose. Like we talk about this game being very clean, it is really about giving you that information.
Right.
Um, Sound waves are these big circles. It'll show you how far a sound carries. When you do something, if you eliminate a light source, the risk reward of that is it'll make a noise.
Mhm.
To do that, you get to see how far that noise would go, and whether that would alert a guard if that guard is in there,
Mhm.
or vice versa. Like when you run, you see the footsteps. So like, hey, I'm not being stealthy. I can see myself visually because I'm lit up. I can also see these rings, so I know I'm making noise.
Yeah.
Everything is communicated to the player visually.
Yes, and it's not that this doesn't just go one way. Anything that makes sound will make these, and that could be
Mm-hmm.
cosmetic. Like if you disturb a bunch of crows, they'll fly off and you'll see the sound. But also, like if you do not have line of sight to an enemy, if they
Mm-hmm.
walk up a flight of stairs or whatever, you can still sense them because you will see the small little circles of their footsteps, even in the
Yes.
darkness, showing that you are hearing them as well. It's like this feels like it is using every part of the visual medium that is available to them on this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great call. And like as a calling card feature for this kind of for this game, big thumbs up.
It's really neat. Like it's very impressive, and it's an interesting way to solve a problem of multisensory experiences in games,
Hmm.
right? Like games are a visual medium and a play medium. You play games in your hands and in your eyes. Sound very rarely outside of rhythm games is a huge part of it. Like
Hmm.
you can make the argument that like a ambience of music is a huge deal, and like yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Voice acting is fine, but it doesn't tend to inform the play
Hmm.
very much. Um, this cements, it by turning everything into visuals. This cements like, hey, this is a fucking visual medium.
Hmm.
Like we are not trying to simulate anything. You are not in this world a person who is hearing and smelling and feeling. You are an omniscient thing that can see sound from the outside.
Hmm.
You can see behind this character. You can see around this character. You can see through walls around this character. Like you are playing this from a weird remove
Hmm.
that isn't typical of video games.
Yeah.
And stealth games, like one of the weird secrets of stealth games is you have to give a stealth character an advantage, for things. So there's different ways that people do it. In Metal Gear, just the fact that it's overhead is your
Mm.
advantage
Yeah.
because you can see behind Snake. And then if you don't have that, you have the Soliton radar to show you a Pac-Man game that's happening in the upper right corner of the screen. When you play like a thief or something like that, the way they do that is the guards have the worst vision in the world.
Hmm.
You can be 5 feet from them, and if you're in darkness, they can't see you.
Yeah.
They kind of change the enemy's perspective to give you an advantage. Here, they literally give you extra like information in addition to what Metal Gear does.
Yeah.
It's like doubles it.
It's a
Very very generous.
the classic double gear.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Twice as metal. It's neat. It's really cool. I'm glad that it's not most stealth games because I do think this is a reason why this game is very easy.
Hmm.
But it's also really refreshing to see. It is a new thing.
Yeah.
At the time this came out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is ingenious in that it
yeah,
displays ingenuity with the medium.
yes.
Yeah.
You can also
Um,
freeze time. With this, if
like
you
ninjas can do.
like ninjas can do, you are the most powerful avatar on Earth in this game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Contrast this with Crisis, which I thought was going to have you doing full of superpowers, and you die very easily in that game. You freeze time when you're aiming, and you can do it as much as you want without any limit.
Mhm.
You can mark targets to throw darts, and they kind of throw all at once. So you mark up to 3 targets. When you let go, you throw them all blindingly fast.
Yeah.
There are other situations you can use this for,
Mhm.
either just to kind of get the lay of the land, or it is necessary for some of those puzzle rooms
Yeah.
we talked about for like tricky platforming things.
Yeah, yeah. It's
That they'll
important
do.
that you can do this in midair. So you will
Yes.
like want to jump up and then freeze, and then you can target your grapple to
Yes.
something that would be hard to get to in real time. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
It is neat, but also contributes to that ease and overpoweredness. I think they get rid of the sound circles in the harder difficulties, like New Game Plus.
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible for them to get rid of this.
No. This is required for a bunch of the puzzles.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. We'll talk about those throwables. You do have unlimited darts. There's like little wooden shuriken things, mostly used for distractions, throwing at gongs to make a big sound or taking out light sources, things like that. But there are more specialized ones, distraction and damaging ones. Those are limited, but they're replenished a bit at these checkpoints that you will find.
Yeah. They're like there is a so you can fight with enemies, and there is an element of the tech tree for this, but it's not great.
Hmm.
It's not only not great because it's not very effective, but also it's like really hard to read.
Yeah.
Every time this happened, I was just flailing at the button.
Yeah.
It's not a good system for it. Instead, what you want is stealth kills. And when you stealth kill, you get a tiny little QTE that tells you which direction to pull when you do
Hmm.
this. If you do it perfectly, it's a quiet kill and it looks cool. If you do it imperfectly, you make noise. You still
Yeah.
get the kill, but you make some noise.
Yeah. It'll draw
And you get less
attention.
honor from this. It is honorful to not make noise when you kill.
Right.
That's how you provide honor.
You don't want them to know that they're dead is the thing.
Yeah.
You-
God, I wish I could kill the word honor from like the vocabulary of video games so bad.
yeah, yeah.
It's such a silly concept. Like, yeah, I'm getting honor points to trade in for new kinds of smoke grenades. Like a big control, you meet an otherworldly entity, and the first thing it does is tell you how to reload your gun. Energy. I'm using I'm using honor to upgrade my equipment.
Yep. I do like though if you fail to do a stealth kill and end up needing to punch somebody in order to get them on the ground and then do a kill there, that is called a peasant's death.
Yeah, fuck them. You know. If you do get caught in this, you get a short alert timer.
Very short.
Yeah, it's very short. You want to be seen
Hmm.
sometimes or leave bodies out for people. I cannot stress enough, this is not Metal Gear, like being or Sly Cooper, right? Like being seen is not a death sentence.
Right.
Being seen is going to tank your honor because you're going to lose the ghost bonus or whatever at the end
Hmm.
of the level. But you can always just like go back the way you came.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they'll chill out after a while.
Go into the vents and there was be like, oh, okay. Well, must have been a human sized rat.
Yeah, it must have been another human-sized rat that killed my friend. Fuck, man. I guess I'm walking back and forth. It's really good that it's not instant fail
Yes. Yeah.
to me. That's where improvisation can happen. I've had, some of my favorite moments in this game were after raising an alert
Hmm.
and like a harrowing escape
Yeah.
from that to try again. I encourage people not to play this like reloading coward. If you can, it is fun to get caught in this and try again.
Yeah.
And honor isn't real.
Right. roll with the punches. Well, I mean, in
Yeah.
this game, it's literally turned into numbers that can affect the abilities that you get. But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Don't worry about doing just like a complete non-lethal or non-getting spotted kind of thing. Like weirdly, like getting caught can solve problems, not just like intentionally, creating a distraction, drawing somebody over, but like if you are trying to get through a bottleneck, right,
Mm-hmm.
and in the process of doing that, you get caught and suddenly everybody's coming after you. Well, that actually might open up another route
Mm-hmm.
as everybody is going to where you were. So
Or
it's like, well,
disrupt like
shit.
a patrol,
Yeah.
like shunt somebody over into an area and they'll stay over there for quite a while.
Hmm.
It's pretty cool. like the way that works. Like if you play this, in that way.
Yeah.
Similar to like a hitman, you can leave bodies for enemies to
Mhm.
raise an alert, but they can also become terrorized. This is something you unlock by hanging people like Batman.
Mhm.
They start firing wildly. Generally, you're doing this to make them kill each other,
Yes.
but also this can backfire because then they're now unpredictable.
Yeah.
In a game based on predictability, like the fact that they're spooked can hurt you.
Yeah.
So it is a calculated risk to do this. I did it a lot because I thought it was fun.
Mhm.
The power fantasy of being Batman, and like, the most fun part in an Arkham game is when they're like, man, the bat's here, and just like, shit, I hate that the bats. Engaging that was fun to
Yes.
me.
Yeah. Um, so I really caught a lot of strays from panicking enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did it when it came time for the enemies that you could not stealth kill
Mhm.
easily. This was my go-to,
Yeah.
was to find one of their friends who was less armored and
Mhm.
spook him real good and just let him do the walking.
Oh man. We already talked about the upgrade system, things like that. What kind of like distraction weapons or items did you end up using? I really just
Uh,
stuck with the noise, with the noisemakers.
you get there's two slots. There's a damage weapon and a distraction item.
Hmm.
The distraction one I use the smoke grenades
Hmm.
for, primarily to get past laser wires and
Yeah.
stuff is the reason why I kept that. And then I use the spike mines
Yeah.
almost exclusively. Like something I could put on the ground and instantly kill a dude was extremely useful.
Yeah. No, spike mines were pretty much mine as well. I was real basic with it. Messed around with the cardboard box you can get kind of later on because, you know, fun
Yeah,
little shout out. Actually not really that fun to use,
yeah,
when you have so
just
many other ways just like get around folks.
more of
Yeah.
just a shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can also earn new costumes, which have different trade-offs for enhanced or new abilities. This felt like when I got these, it was like for achievement kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And there's one that you unlock for story purposes, kind of about 2/3 of the way through the game. I pretty much just stuck with the standard one though, because I wanted a standard playthrough. Kind of feels like a challenge kind of deal.
Yeah. When the you unlock the one partway through the game, I switched to that.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
liked the blink. The other ones did not seem that interesting to me,
Hmm.
personally.
Yeah.
Here's a point of contention. I
Hmm.
like how this game moves, but I don't actually like how it's designed.
Okay.
I think the character models are exceedingly ugly and look like advertising.
Hmm.
They look like advertisements for like how if you see something, you should say something on a bus, but come to life.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
wonder I wonder if this is like a generational thing because this kind of looks like some cartoons like at the tail end of when I was like looking
Kim
at,
Possible.
watching those. Well, not necessarily like Kim Possible, but
Well, it kind of looks
yeah.
like Kim Possible.
That kind
You
of
know,
okay, yes, kind of looks like
I was
Kim
just trying to use
Possible.
it as a reference for like other
Yeah,
than the
yeah.
Jackie Chan adventures. Like what are other cartoons this looks like?
You know what? I'm actually at a
Yeah.
loss. I don't know. It just
I'm not trying I wasn't trying to
yeah.
emasculate you with Kim Possible. Like nothing wrong with watching Kim Possible. It's just
Yeah.
or Aaron Insurance is the other a hallmark.
Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah.
trying to find one that isn't insulting. I'm trying to meet you
Yeah.
halfway here, man. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it just more reminds me of like a particular era of animation. I don't know. I think that when I say this game looks amazing here in the notes, it's more just that there's an awful lot of like love and care put into it, and I think that specifically the play animation all looks really good.
It's
Um,
neat to watch your character like do a stealth kill, and when it zooms in, the characters who are very small on your screen also look like cartoons.
yeah,
Like they look like moving cartoons,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
in that way. And the animation is good.
hmm
Not
yeah,
only is it clear and like effective in terms of like giving you the information you need, it looks really attractive.
yes, yeah,
The squash and stretch that happens very, very like subtly,
hmm
when you're moving, sometimes all that shit is really good.
yeah, yeah. That's more the thing I think I'm complimenting on this rather than the actual like model work that is done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I might just be, hung up on these character designs.
yeah.
Unlike most people in my generation, I'm not attracted to Aaron Insurance. And I think that is that kind of very flat, kind of flash adjacent
Hmm.
art is something that like it probably is a generational thing. I'm contrasting that with like 90s cartoons,
Yeah, yeah.
that are a little bit more line work and a little bit more detail, and a little less flat,
Mhm.
slightly less computer touched
Yeah,
looking.
I do like flat design stuff more than you do, I
Yeah.
think. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That would make sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Music to me is nothing to write home about, but the sound
No.
design does a very good job of conveying the information, play information kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't nothing stands out. No songs stood out, not
Yeah.
one. The story is very cliche
Mhm.
and simple. There's kind of an attempt at a twist at the end, but it's I would have a hard time meeting the person who had their heart touched by this, or who
Yeah.
got particularly invested in this. It felt very functional, and it's the closest I've come to, like, I'm especially for the show, I don't skip past dialogue
Mhm.
typically, because it's like we gotta talk about that stuff. It's part of the game, you judge everything that's on the plate. It's the closest I've come to just hammering through, because I just wanted the wireframe of this. The
Yeah.
story seemed bad and boring to me.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
the ninjas who hold to the old ways, running up against modern technology. Um,
Yeah.
that it's that's kind of the log line here.
And it's one of those things where, like, if there's supposed to be kind of a John Henry theme to this, it's given lie by the fact that you have a magic tattoo.
Yep.
You're not really holding to the old ways. You're holding to, a weird thing that doesn't exist as well.
Yeah.
It's not a man versus machine narrative. It's a magic versus machine, and one of those things doesn't exist, so it doesn't map onto the real world
Uh huh.
very well. It's a little confused.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I got to the ending and got to the ending choice, that's like the big twist, and then credits rolled. I laughed. Like, I was just like, what, really? Like, huh?
Okay. Well.
Yeah, yeah. All right then.
Yeah.
This studio is real strange to me,
Hmm.
Clee. They are somebody who I have always wanted to like their games a lot more than I did have.
Okay.
This is probably this and Invisible Ink are the two of them I think are good. Like,
Right.
actually work up to their reputation. Like, it's them batting at like the top of their game.
Mhm.
Typically they put out things that look interesting to me, but then I really don't like it all. They're an indie studio. They make a really wide variety of genres.
Yeah. Yeah.
They first started with a beat 'em up called Shank, and Shank 2.
Yeah. Well, they made their name with that one, but like their first game was Eats. Did you ever play Eats on the Xbox 360?
I did not play Eats.
Yeah, it's kind of like a like Lemmings kind of thing, but like this white monster that would you solved puzzles by eating different things that would put them into different moods.
Okay.
Kind
Like
of
a
deal.
WarioWare.
Yeah, yeah, that's a better comparison. But as I said, Lemmings, because you're solving like environmental puzzles with it. It's good. It's pretty neat. But Shank, I don't care for Shank. It's just a very it's like they focus on this kind of visual and like very highly animated kind of stuff. Shank's it's like a beat 'em up, like hyper violent
Yeah.
beat 'em up kind of deal.
I found Shank real boring. I don't like Don't Starve. I
Okay.
want to,
Hmm.
but I don't think it's a very good example of what it's trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's got bad, I was thinking about Don't Starve a lot when we talked about Subnautica, because Subnautica solves a lot of problems I have with Don't Starve. Like, Don't Starve rolls up your biome randomly, and if you're in an area where gold is like very far away or guarded, like your
Hmm.
entire tech tree depends on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels a little bit like starting a game of Catan where you can be fucked really early. And then like Griftlands, which seems like it should be 100% my shit,
Hmm.
just isn't. They made a roguelike deck builder with a really interesting system that is so chock full of the most boring story you've ever imagined,
Hmm.
and is so talky.
Yeah.
Like, imagine a monster train where between every bout you had to engage in a lot of very generic story.
Yeah.
They're a weird dev,
Hmm.
whereas Invisible Ink is real good. Invisible
Yeah.
Ink's fun.
Yeah. Invisible
They
Ink could be a great
do.
candidate for the show, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, next time we, like, as a turn-based stealth
Hmm.
kind of thing, like, that's a really cool game. They
Hmm.
do neat stuff, but it's hard for me to call myself a fan because it feels like every other game they make, I actually kind of loathe,
Yeah.
you know,
Oxygen,
unlike
oxygen
this
not
one.
Oxygen Not Included is one that I put on the good column there. That's a fun like base builder. You're doing like a space colony kind of thing.
I haven't done that one because I was so put off by the other ones.
Yeah.
So, but that one and their first one are the two I haven't played.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, but they lean on this animation style. So
Yeah.
like it's to my mind, they're all bad character designs that are well animated. So depending on where you fall in the character designs, this will either be like a visual powerhouse studio, like a Supergiant, or it will be just moves good.
Yes. Yeah. The studio head, Nels Anderson, fell in love with stealth games back when he played Thief. And the idea for this one came just, there was this observation that aside from Tenchu, no game that said it was about ninjas actually featured stealth, ninjas doing
No,
ninja
Ninja
stuff.
Gaiden.
Uh,
Yeah, character action. Like in Ninja Gaiden,
yeah.
you do nothing ninja related.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good observation. Viva la Tenchu.
Yeah.
They wanted to set this game in the modern era to differentiate this from Tenchu, and give themselves some more options for traps and environments.
Yes.
Not that like a Tenchu like wouldn't be really refreshing at this point.
Yep.
It's been forever since we had a Tenchu.
Yeah.
Also a game I want to do on the show when we both have like a big appetite for frustration, because I'm sure like that only holds up kinda, but it is really interesting.
That seems like a play on emulator or die kind of thing with save states. Yeah.
Yeah. We will because when you get to level 3 of Tenchu, that first level is so fucking good. It's like one of the best opening levels in games.
Yeah. They kind of lose their way a little bit.
You go fight bears for the whole second level. You're in the forest. It's full of bears. It's real stupid. Like,
you ever tried to trick a bear? It's not easy.
You can sneak past a bear. You have to trick a bear. I sneak past bears all the time. No bears know where I'm at.
Sneak. Oh, Gary, you say that. You say that with so much certainty. They're on their way, Gary.
I have so much certainty about this. The wording of my second edition wish was very clear.
Oh man, yeah. So yeah, a Tenchu like would be very welcome. The earliest versions of this game kind of had a lot more combat. I think they were coming off of Shank. When they were thinking here, but they scrapped that just because it just wasn't fun.
It wasn't fun. This game was extensively play tested. If you look at interviews, you look at the commentary that is included on the re-release, which is what I played.
Yes.
There's a lot about their playtesting.
Yeah.
This is also where the idea of having visual feedback for almost everything in the game came from.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about this is kind of a minor note, so it's hard to fit into the notes, but like not only do you get visual feedback for noise and stuff, but like your contextual actions are always labeled.
Yes.
In this, I imagine there's probably a kind of immersion hound who gets bothered by this, but this is a thing where it's like, if you're leaning up into grate, it will always tell you what button it is to go into the grate, to put a body into the grate, all that stuff. You're reminded constantly of that.
Yeah.
It was a big breakthrough in development to decide to, and I like that in this game.
Same.
I'm not complaining about it. It was a big breakthrough to just be like, no, we have to give this. It's when I talk about this game being very clean.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's part of what I mean. Like you are getting feedback on every single action.
Yeah. And there's kind of a variety of things that you do in this. Like, you end up doing a bunch of discrete kinds of actions, not necessarily having to make a mistake because you poorly remembered it. Is nice. Like it's with all of the artifice around this, even just the artifice of being a 2D stealth game where you have a lot of information your character wouldn't have. Like, you've already taken the big step. Providing the feedback and the reference is not compared to that is nothing, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It's funny reading those interviews because there's a lot of real 2012 stuff about like, now can you beat the game without killing people? Because killing people in video games reflects poorly on me, you see.
It was the style at the time.
Yeah.
And you kind of can, and then you also kind of can't. But then when they patch in the prequel level, they have a non-lethal, a character who just knocks people out in this. It's very quaint.
Yeah.
In that way. The idea here is that you can do stealth kills through the game. Again, guys, you can also do full stealth and it's worth equal points.
Yeah.
This honors your player choice, providing you with more honor points that you can then spend in heaven in real life.
Yeah.
The more honor you accrue, the more superpowers you get in heaven. You see, this is what honor means.
Yeah, St. Peter's book is just a big list of everybody's gamer
It's just an
score.
upgrade tree. Like, you just whenever you want to upgrade, you cash in some honor with St. Peter and choose from his book whether you want to double jump in heaven.
See, this is
Like,
why I like the Mexican afterlife.
yeah.
Just like, okay, do I get enough honor points? I refuse to kill enough enemies in video games that I get the
Mhm.
full on train package, right?
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
This game was originally released on the Xbox 360 and PC. I looked at a list of summer of arcade games. It's not from that, but it's an also ran. It
Yeah.
wasn't officially a summer of arcade
Yeah,
thing.
this feels like such a summer of arcade thing. Man, if you weren't there,
Yeah,
that was a real. It was a whole thing.
it's a weird thing where like a bunch of games that we still talk about now in
Hmm.
terms of indie stuff is part of that. So like
Yeah.
your Braid, your
Hmm.
Braid and your Shadow Complex and Limbo and Bastion and stuff.
Yeah.
But then you also run into stuff like the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD,
Hmm.
like not the new one, not one
the
and two,
the bad one. Yeah.
yeah, the exceedingly bad one, or like the really crappy port of Turtles in Time
Hmm.
that came out in 2009, stuff like that. Like it was a really
Yeah.
weird time.
Insanely twisted Shadow Planet, which is not actually that's not bad. That's just actually okay.
It's
Yeah.
not. It's not. A bunch of these I feel like are not bad.
Yeah.
Like the actual classics. But there's a lot of stuff. This was a real style over substance period.
Hmm.
I feel like in the summer of arcade, like you get a lot of like Dust and Elysian Tale, which is like not a super good game. It just looks, good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that kind of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, it has big energy for that.
Hmm. Yeah. There was a special edition DLC that was put out, adding a prequel level and also adding a developer commentary that was released a year later in
Mhm.
2013. And that was rolled into this remastered version, which you can get, came out in 2018. That incorporated all of that content, updated the visuals to make it higher res, and also brought the game to more systems.
Yeah, it's worth saying. When we say incorporates the content, like it's not like the DLC in Human Revolution.
Right, right.
It's still just another option from the menu. This is my long way of saying I didn't play it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you did.
I dipped into it to just kind
Okay.
of like check it out, see how it felt. It didn't feel
Yeah.
terribly different to me. Yeah.
It's the big concept is it unlocks a costume as you play as your tattoo master
Hmm.
who can do things like actually non-lethally
Hmm.
as opposed to just sneak by guys.
Yeah, that's not a huge concern for me.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
They're little cartoons. I'm going to kill them.
Yes.
And they're assholes.
Hmm.
As we'll find out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this company never made a follow up to this. The closest thing they did was Invisible Ink, which is also a stealth game, even though it's a very different
Mhm.
kind of stealth game. They also did Don't Starve and Oxygen Not Included.
Yes.
And
Kind of
Griftlands.
the big popular ones. And
Yeah.
yeah, Griftlands is a very anonymous name.
It is. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Griftlands is such a neat concept. I really wish I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
Let's do. We open up. We have this, just I have here beautifully animated. You know what I mean? If you got problems with the style, you're gonna have problems with the style. But it is,
It does look like a cartoon I would not like,
yes,
but it looks like the cartoon.
yes.
It is. This is purely subjective too. I'm not saying like
Yeah.
this is. You are probably closer to the mean opinion on this.
Hmm.
Like most people, I think this company gets a lot of shout outs for how this stuff looks.
Yeah. But it's, like big hand drawn animation, big hand drawn visuals, which is kind of, especially at the time was pretty rare. There was
Yeah.
lots of stuff that was crappy Jimmy Neutron shit. But you've got the main character attacking this warehouse, kind of going after, we're going to learn he's trying to steal stuff from them. And then he, wakes up with a start. That
Yep.
was kind of a flashback dream. wakes up because his compound is being raided.
Yep. And it's being raided by these special forces dudes, and you are not dead or captured because you were sleeping through it.
Yep.
Like classic ninja move.
Sleepy boy.
Minus 1,000 honors.
Slumber style.
Yes, your slumber style points. A woman named Aura is there and starts guiding you out of the building.
Yeah.
I'm here to help you. Rule number 1 is don't get me killed. This
Which
is
is
a little bit
very
of a swerve.
misleading.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a swerve. And we're getting our tutorial. Movements, stealth kills, learning about freezing time, things like that.
Yeah. And we're trying to get over to our master, to our sensei, Azai. Is the name of the leader of the clan, preferably without being detected, but you're just getting lots of basics, combat and stuff.
Yep.
We're not going to talk a lot about details of these levels actually, because of the aforementioned. These are all kind of hallways with challenges. Like there's a lot of just kind of Mark of the Ninjaing through a space.
It's almost exclusively that. And it's not that there isn't encounter design. It's just that the encounter design is hard to describe granularly because it is often this shape of rectangle with 2 guards walking
Yeah,
back and forth with, this little bit of cover you can duck behind,
yeah,
that's really it. Like it describing this would feel like, that book walkthrough of Super Mario Brothers 2 I have that describes how to play it in prose.
yeah.
It's not that there aren't clever design encounter designs in this. There are,
Hmm.
but generally they boil down to that. And
Hmm.
again, none of them are actually that rigorous.
Yeah.
Maybe on the harder difficulties where you can't see your sound cone, things they might be.
Not my
Yeah.
sound cone.
Oh, but when you don't get the sound cone, maybe they're more rigorous. But as is, it's like if there's 2 guys in a hallway, I basically know how to deal with that 10
Yeah,
times out of 10, and that's what most of the game is.
if there's anything exceptionally clever, it'll be called out. Yeah.
And new enemies, when they pop
Yes.
up, like when you have to start murdering dogs for honor.
Murder him, you put him to
I
sleep.
know. Yeah, you knock them out. Yeah.
Although that did stop me from dealing with them at all because I was afraid I was going to murder them.
Oh, those dogs had to go. They're bad dogs. Don't make a dog a cop. There's an optional objective here to rescue some ninjas throughout the building, which you can do to get some extra honor. And then you find Azai. Azai is being tortured. They think that Azai stole something.
Because he was trying to. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was attempting to, because hey, moral ambiguity 2012. You rescue him, and you get the cinematic of Azai explaining that this is war. They cannot hide from the modern world forever.
Right.
And he displays your tattoos, calling it the first mark. You're going to defend us at a terrible cost because they're madness tattoos.
Should say something about Azai. Never has it been more clear this person is going to betray you, just by the design and his general steez.
Oh yeah, where the Saturday morning cartoon stuff comes home to roost. Like,
yeah,
you can't draw somebody who is evil who doesn't look evil in this art style,
right?
Like it's just how will we know the dog's shifty? It's real that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he explains, the history of this ink. Before the restoration, this Middle Eastern merchant came and sold them a toxic flower that he said if you put it into an ink and put it into somebody's skin, it will grant these strange powers.
Yes.
However, the marked person eventually becomes a danger to themselves and the clan. They're going mad, so they need to end their life before that happens, preferably after the mission is accomplished.
Yeah, a deniable asset.
Yes.
So we're looking out next. We're looking out at a Hessian tower, and Azai says that Count Karajan, his PMC, his paramilitary unit there, is behind the attack. So we have to get revenge. Get to digging 2 graves. So we need to work through several facilities in order to approach the tower.
Yeah. There are probably 3 missions in this game, like 3 big objectives that you have to accomplish, all of which take place over multiple levels, which I like.
Yeah, it's very constrained. Like it really feels like it's not even a season of a cartoon. It's like a 2-part finale of a cartoon in terms of like how much plot gets covered.
Yeah, I like that.
In this first level, we are introduced to a new hazard, these laser traps. Some of these you can dart an electric panel to shut them off. But one of the things they introduce next is that if a guard is there, it like locks onto their biosignature or what have you, so it turns off. So you can kill guards and drag their bodies to use them as like a passcode
Yeah.
through these laser gates,
Hmm.
which is cool and satisfying and a neat way to do it.
Yeah.
You know,
That's even satisfying to just kind of like try and follow close enough to them.
yeah,
If you're, not taking them out, or if it wouldn't be advantageous to,
hmm
nice kind of high stakes stealth, there.
yeah,
There's a difference between the lasers that will create an alarm and the other lasers that you'll hit, which will kill you by popping you like you're a blood balloon.
yeah. The disintegration rays
Yeah.
that they have that nobody's put into a gun. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They cast disintegrate
Yes.
there. I am only dragged guards through this. I never snuck behind them.
Hmm.
Lethal stealth is my favorite kind of stealth.
Yeah.
I everybody had to die
Hmm.
who I saw, and that's how I gained my honor. That's how I keep that's how I keep my house hot. Uh, is murdering all these fuckers.
Yeah. Oh man. I tried it here, because it was early and it was easy at this point. I would pass up killing somebody that would create more problems for me with their body
Mm.
being out. Right.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
hide bodies, which
Hmm.
is thief DNA. In this, we talked about, and luckily, like one thing I like is that you can hide them in just like vents and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can jam them in there. You do get the comical, like there's a problem with the toilet situation where you have just literally gummed up a vent with like 6 dudes, like, which I really like.
Oh man, I love that there's a problem with the toilet has just become a part of the vocabulary.
It's part of the Duckfeed dictionary, the dictionary now.
So we reach this power transformer and sabotage it, bringing down a lot of the traps and things. And we get our first distraction item. We get these noisemakers. These will draw people from kind of a shockingly small distance, actually.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're quiet fireworks, uh, like that you throw down, like
Yeah.
little crackling guys.
Yeah.
We go down into these steam tunnels and we learn about how to use the noisemakers, and freezing time when we jump to hit things beyond barriers. We can jump and throw and
Yeah.
aim and such. And you get a little visual arc. Again, everything is conveyed visually. You see the exact arc of what you throw and where
Yeah.
it will land, a little preview of it.
Love it.
Yeah.
There's a side path that'll take you to the first challenge room. I saw that it was a block pushing puzzle, and I was like, I don't want to do this.
There's no honor in not pushing blocks, Cole. You dishonored people by not pushing blocks.
Yeah, it's just like it really just felt like they kind of, I don't know, gave an intern the level creation tools and said like, all right, no assets for this, just kind of put something together with what we got.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't care
I,
for it.
I did these until about 2/3 of the way through the game. So
Hmm.
I can say that they do get a little bit more clever
Okay.
as you go on. But one of the issues with them is that they do, like they are very prescriptive order of operations things a lot of the time. And when
Hmm.
you die, you just start over from the
Hmm.
very beginning of it. And some of this stuff takes time. Like,
Yeah.
pushing a block is not a good video game verb, I don't think, but doing it again and again and again, the same block, like that's a torture.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
sucks.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if you don't take that path and instead go to the next building, the power, so the guards have responded. They know the transformer is down, so they're trying to get it back up, and the power is kind of intermittently flickering
Hmm.
on some of the floors. But then they start like bringing the power back on as you reach the floors, like while you're in these
Yes.
situations, which is very fun timing.
It's worth noting too, we didn't mention this in the thing. There are certain lights that have little shields around them,
Hmm.
so you can't bust out the lights.
Yeah, yeah.
Like typically I would break all the light bulbs while they were out,
Hmm.
so they couldn't turn back on, but some of them you cannot.
Yeah.
Um, this moves us into the Trail of Shadow. This little level break where we get to the roof of this browned out building and we have to jump down closer to the Hessian Tower.
Yeah.
And we get a new move. We can now do a spider dangle like a Batman or a Spider-Man.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never ended up using this,
Nope.
and I would have forgotten that it was there if you didn't have the kind of Assassin's Creed splat of buttons in the upper right hand corner showing you what all the context sensitive items were. Like this is
Yeah.
just a way to like if you are on a grapple point, to lower yourself to like look around a corner or to like clear a line of sight or a clean shot towards something you want to take out with your darts.
It's very, very rarely useful.
Yeah.
It's worth noting, like, you can stick to every wall in the game. The way they stop you from just walking over every level is by having roofs that are
Hmm.
too steep for you to jump around
Yeah.
there. So, like, any situation which I had this, I would rather just be stuck to a wall and crawl down to the opening and look
Yes.
around it than like spider dangle.
Yeah.
Never did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, this is kind of, you're going through the beginning part of this level where we're introduced to dogs and ceilings we can stick through. That they've installed monkey bars on, standard issue monkey bars for some
For the
reason.
kids.
Yeah, for the kids. The way dogs work in this is they smell, they don't see. So they do have a vision cone, but they have a big circle around them that indicates how far they can smell.
Hmm.
And that, really interestingly, that goes up, but doesn't go down.
It's hilarious the way that they cannot smell something below eye level.
An event, something they're sniffing, you
Yep.
know? And you cannot kill a dog, you just knock them out, but you want to be able to do a jump attack, because if you sneak up behind it, it'll smell you and bark.
Yes. Yeah.
What's something I really like is that barking is not instantly psychically telling the guards what's happening and who's there. It's
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
bark. Like
Yeah.
it's just a noise. The guards will come investigate. They know something's up, but it doesn't, train every guard in the level on you because you set off the alarm.
Yeah.
It doesn't Sly Cooper you.
Yeah. I'm really happy that we're never going to do that game.
I've been playing this made me think about stealth a
Yes.
lot and like different ways you can do it. And it's something I think about a lot because it's, I think I do like stealth games a lot. It just,
Hmm.
there's certain kinds of stealth games I really don't like.
Yeah.
If you do certain things, they're some of my favorite games. And if you do some other things, I want to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just because it's the cartoony kind of stuff. Like, I also would not want to bring like the first two Splinter Cells to the game. Chaos
Yeah.
Theory, maybe, but like, like failure has to be fun.
Yeah. Failure cannot be an instant death condition. And I also, I mean, that's really the big one.
Yeah.
That's what differentiates a good and a bad stealth game to me.
Yeah.
We are working our way up to the rooftops here of this communications complex.
Yeah. And we get a new enemy. We get these heavy guards. They carry shields so they can't be attacked from the front. And they launch these flares that will light up an area for a short time. So even if they, hear something suspicious, they don't have to see you in order to put one of these out.
Yeah. And they're a big deal. Like they will light up the night and people will see you there. We reach this like hanging scroll and we can buy our first upgrades here. We're introduced to the little shop that we can do, and we can cash in our honor for fabulous prizes.
Yep. I want the Huffy bike.
Yeah, we sell out basically by trading our honor. We basically did what the Shins did when they sold their commercial to McDonald's, or sold their song. We reach this watchtower, which all stairs and clear views on our way up, which is a little bit tricky since everything can see you from a distance. We need to drop into this radio room from the roof of this.
Yeah. And we see that the person we're trying to kill, Karajan, has got a tracking device on him, so his security guys can know where he's at. And the receiver is nearby, and when we find it, we can go right to him.
Yep. Yeah. So we go beyond this tower outside of Building 6 here, and a scout has left. We have ninja like helpers who leave us items and stuff, and one of them has left the smoke bombs for us.
I never ended up using these a lot, just because I didn't really have problems with those lasers. I just kind of figured out ways around them. For me, it was better to reliably be able to create distractions from guards without putting myself in a lot of danger.
The thing, I could always do distractions from guards from hitting lights and stuff. Like there are enough environmental things to distract a guard. These will get past lasers, and the other thing it does is when you're in them, you're invisible. So like if you have to pass by, there's a system we didn't talk about where there's like a cover system where there'll be literal like elevator action environmental things like a pot or something we can hide behind.
Yeah.
And when you're behind a pot, you cannot be seen no matter how light it is. You can throw a smoke bomb between two pots and then just walk between them. Like guards cannot see within smoke.
Yeah.
So it basically creates a no vision zone for you. Yeah. There's another one that's also a noisemaker. There's the noisemaker, and then what's the other thing? Or the light one,
Yeah,
the thing that makes a light flash.
yeah,
That was
that's
really
what
confusing to me. I didn't understand what made that better than a noisemaker.
you get that a little bit before you end up encountering enough people with night vision goggles to make relying on it necessary. Is the thing. So like I tried it with night vision with night vision folks. Basically, what it does is it blinds them, right?
Okay.
So that is its primary use. I think it's just a failure of its description because it does. They call it a distraction flare or something like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
I never used it, and also
mhm.
never had a problem with night vision guys.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't know. It just felt like superfluous to me.
By the
But
time they introduce night vision guys, we're probably coming up on it actually. By the time they introduce them, I'm pretty good at getting around without like necessarily relying on a lot of darkness, you know,
yeah,
to
yeah.
provide cover. So yeah,
It's also a thing too where you only get to have one attack item and one distraction item.
yeah,
The way they kind of address this is they have switch out points throughout the
yeah. Those
level.
scrolls, yeah.
So the idea is, I start use the noisemaker for the beginning of this, but the second half has night vision guys, so maybe I'll switch to the flare.
Hmm.
That requires foreknowledge. Like you have to be playing. That's for people playing the gate level over and over.
Yeah, yeah.
To get the best score. I never knew what was coming next, so I never switched.
Right, right.
I was just like, no, this is the kit I'm comfortable with, and it's more than adequate for the whole game.
I have like standby. Yeah,
Yeah, yep. I prefer not to fuck with it.
yeah.
So, yeah. So we have those now. We have the smoke bombs. We get into the building, and we spot a guard with the transponder. This guy, and we had to follow him
Hmm.
up until he gets into his office. And
Yeah,
we go through a lot of different lasers and guards, doing a lot of that ducking between pots
yeah, yeah.
stuff.
Thankfully, this isn't. I never ran into a point where he got too far ahead of me. It doesn't do the
Mm.
Assassin's Creed two and onward problem of like, okay, you got to follow, but don't get too far and don't get too close, kind of thing.
I think of that as a GTA problem
Oh
because
yeah,
of but that's as old as the hills.
oh yeah.
Like follow but don't follow too close is one of the most like deadly. It's like escort. It's one of the
I
most
hate
deadly
it.
video game verbs.
Yeah, it just
Just a gamer sin.
there's a point in Assassin's Creed 4 where you have to do that with a fucking boat.
Oh, go to hell.
Not like a rowboat. I'm talking about your ship.
I hate that. There's also I think that you have to do that with the Bat Tank in Arkham Knight
Oh god.
at some point, and just it's sometimes video games are incredibly bad. I
Uh-huh.
don't know if you've ever realized this hobby that
Yeah.
we've dedicated our lives to. Sometimes just does the stupidest things that you can even imagine. As we
Uh-huh.
sit down and discuss about like how much of our honor we can trade to make smoke better.
Mhm.
Like this is a farce, man. This whole hobby is ridiculous. Like,
They're bad in
um,
contagious ways, right?
yeah,
Like, just like, oh, okay, a popular game did follow, but don't follow too closely. Well, I mean, now that is a Lego block for us to put in, and it's a Lego block that's made out of just kind of like, I don't know, an old chicken nugget. Like, you don't want that
it is a
around.
desiccated, yeah,
It's a bad
desiccated
nugget. It's a
nug.
bad block,
Yeah,
bud.
absolutely a bad nugget. It's like when you get a 4-piece nugget and one of them is just like black and shriveled and there's like a little
Yeah.
finger growing out of it and it's full of beak, you know, just like chock full. If you go down to chock full of beaks and get their nuggets, like, do feather roulette on the nugget game. Um, like, but anywho,
Uh,
yeah, they avoid that here. Like part of the reason why I think this game is a solid B and really enjoyable is less like the things it does that are special and noteworthy that we've called out are real, but it's
uh-huh.
more that it doesn't dip into a whole lot of pitfalls it could dip into.
Yeah,
Like it's a weird game that like raises a letter grade based on not fucking up,
it
you
dances
know?
around quite a few rakes for the
Yeah.
genre and even for the time period, right?
Yeah. And Vorpal rakes, they're not even rakes that like would add interesting tension.
Hmm.
They're just rakes that would make this the most tedious thing in the world and make you have
Hmm.
to reload a part over and over. And it just doesn't do that. Like it ends up being, very smooth in that way.
Yeah.
You know, once we get there, we take the transponder. You can either kill the guy or pickpocket it,
Hmm.
depending on what kind of honor you want to eat. And this puts the whole building on alert doing this. There's an escape route through an elevator shaft, but it's blocked by the elevator car. So we have to kind of summon it down to a lower floor that's very heavily guarded to get out through here. You never ride the elevator. You just move the elevator because you can't crawl through it.
Yeah. Well, you don't need to ride the elevator.
No. Yeah, you can crawl up walls. You can
Oh,
do whatever a spider can.
never has a character needed an elevator less.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The mission ends with this short outdoor escape section where you get past more of these dogs and guards who are on high alert, and you get a cutscene, which is just Karajan being comically evil.
Incredible. Just like absolutely codename kids or whatever, codename Lycos villain stuff. Like, yes, this wine once belonged to Otto von Bismarck. I
It's a little
traded it for a
tart.
shipment of honor. For
Of armor. Sorry.
yeah. Well, they eventually sold that for honor.
Oh yes,
It's fungible in this world. Of body armor. I hope your friends didn't die from not having it.
Yeah.
I don't even like the wine. Like, it's unreasonable.
Yeah. And the captain's like, oh, we probably could have used that. And Karajan, hands him a pistol saying, hey, go deal with this guy. Go deal with this ninja yourself.
Yeah. The little captain of the guard guy is supposed to be like your honorable opponent.
Yeah.
The cliche of the honorable lieutenant.
Mm-hmm.
Aura, who has still been hanging around us every once in a while, mentions her plan to get into the tower is create a distraction by lighting a nearby building on fire.
Right.
So we have to do this. We go into the sewer nearby to get our next equipment upgrade, which are spike mines.
Yeah.
These are great.
Love them. They don't just take an enemy off of the board. If another guy sees this activate, it will cause terror. So it is a way to create a little bit of chaos. It's neat. Good item.
Yeah. Just being able to quietly take somebody out to make a scenario, like change the math of a scenario, is huge.
Yes.
This building has motion sensors in it. These are basically like little security cameras, little fields of vision. You just can't move during them without setting off an alarm. Not often that big of a deal. Yeah.
It plays nice with enemy sight cones, like guard sight cones, because like you can be standing out in the open, standing still in order to not get detected by one of these as it sweeps you. But obviously you're standing in the open, so if a guard walks in, they're going to catch you. Right.
Yeah. Yep. You go to the basement of this, and we're going to tamper with this gas exchange to fill the building with gas.
Right. And you're just, hitting a few of these. Like, you don't have to hit all of them. You just have to hit a satisfactory number of them. And you get up to the upper levels and you get lots of it's kind of where this level where it becomes real puzzly. There's lots of very tight timing bits with the lasers and motion sensors and stuff.
Yeah. I know I keep hammering on this joke, but it's very funny. There is a bonus for opening up all of the gas vents, which gives you more honor. It is a more honorable act to make sure the building really explodes with all these people in it.
A true ninja finishes the job.
Explode. Yeah. You don't want them to suffer. Do not let them suffer, or I will shoot you myself. Do you understand, ninja? At the end of this, we get a little escape sequence, which is pretty fun. Yeah. Where the building is on fire here after we destroy this fuse box, and we have to get out quickly. Yeah. As the building is slowly blowing up.
Lots of quick grapples, chain grapples, grappling from jumps. Like, it's neat. Outrunning the wall of flame.
Yeah, it's fun and cinematic. This moves us into the chapter, The Fall of Hessian Tower.
Yeah. You get into the tower, and the transponder picks up Karajan's signal, and he's going upwards, going up to the penthouse. This level is massive. Like, the levels have been getting slowly bigger each time, and we are gonna be going all the way to the top of it for this kind of Act 1 climax here. Yeah,
I was just about to say this is like the end of Act 1, and mechanically it is too. No new mechanics, just all of them together. So it's a fun and exciting level to go through. There's parts where the alarm will go off on you. A lot of little timing puzzles to get through these different sensors and guard routes and such. Eventually you reach a point where Karajan sends a security chief, the Honorable Corporal Kelly, after you. And this starts the second part of the level where snipers show up. I really like snipers in this because it's a high priority puzzle to get behind them. And there's always a way to sneak around to get behind them.
Yeah.
If not, there's a great, this is a great use of smoke grenades. You can throw a smoke grenade in their line of sight
Mhm.
and obviate it,
Yeah.
and then run to get below them and
It's
then
very
pull them
funny
off
that
the
smoke
ledge.
grenades do not cause an alarm in and of themselves.
Not at all. No, I'm just, there's just a big pile of smoke there. I'm assuming it's empty.
One of those highly localized fog fields we
Yeah.
have.
2 cartoons are getting into a fight. It's none of my business.
Oh, trouble down at the Cap House.
Yep. Yeah. I'm not going to snipe Tom or Jerry. Like, say what you will, but they have a right to live. Um,
Are they not men?
yeah. When God calls, will Tom and Jerry not be in your chorus? Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, and they do lots of like high drama stuff. So the way that they work is they've got a laser sight and they will like sweep up and down in an area. So like even to close the distance, sometimes you will need to wait for them to be looking up, and you will like just barely make it past before they look down again.
Yeah. Yep. And it is instant death to become
Yeah.
sniped.
Yes.
So you get to the room where Kelly is waiting. He's taunting you over this PA there, and he's covered by snipers. He's trying to get you to run up and fight him fair. And Aura even says this, like, "Oh, they're expecting an honorable samurai, but you are a ninja.
Yes.
You don't have to do it this way. You have to go through and you knock out those snipers, and then you can drop this high voltage rigging on him to disable his guard, and then you can actually take him out."
Right.
At this point,
you got him, but Karajan himself got away.
yep, and his evil helicopter evil. So we go back to starting Act 2 here, an ancestral home where the clan tattooist is refreshing your mark.
Yeah.
You're talking about how the ink is old and it's clumping. They're running out of this magic ink that they're going to have to you. We're going to have to go to Karajan's Eastern European homeland to kill him in his castle. So, yep.
Yeah. Aura says, this is your final mission. This is the one you're going to remember you by. Right.
Yeah.
And this mission is real neat because there is a lightning storm going on. It is unpredictable when everything is going to be lit up by a lightning strike nearby.
Well, it's unpredictable, but like real life, thunder happens first.
That's the opposite. It's actually the opposite.
Or it's actually the opposite of real life. Sorry. It's unlike real life, but in the game, thunder happens first.
Yes.
So they reverse them for this to give you a cue. It's a weird little bit of artistic license to make this work. So it's really neat. Like you hear the thunder, lightning is coming. You want to hide or get away. At this point, it is the opposite though.
Yeah,
it is speculative fiction where sound can move as fast as it wants,
as fast as the story deems necessary. Yeah. It's a worthwhile concession, right?
Yeah, I think it's clever.
Yeah.
We get inside. Aura tells you about, hey, you got this new ability from your mark, Farsight, aka Detective Vision, which will reveal hidden things, including how things are wired, giving this a little gunpoint.
Yeah.
This really does kind of take a little nod from almost every stealth game.
Yeah. And this will show you like, okay, we got traps. Probably it'll reveal those. And if there's like a door that is locked, it'll show you which direction you need to go to find the switch and such.
Yeah, for electronic doors, we did a very minor mechanic, and to me a big reason why the upgrade trade didn't work for me is like you pick locks in this game. Some doors are locked. You just hold down the button, and then one of the upgrades is doing it faster, and you're never doing it in danger. Like, again, I'm not trying to fight my Pokemon against yours about whether the upgrade tree is good. It's just another example of one where I was like, what the fuck is this doing here?
Yeah.
Like, this is silly.
I found situations where I was in danger lockpicking, so I did buy that. It's also one of the cheaper ones.
It doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
This might be a how many people you killed thing.
Yeah.
I was never picking a lock with alive people in a room, generally.
Yeah.
But it happens real quick, even from the base. Like it's a fast lock pick.
Yeah. I was also annoyed by watching the meter fill up.
It's Deus Ex lock picking, where you're just watching a meter. There's no mini game or anything.
Yeah. Yeah. The security system is crazy. Karajan's paranoid. It's almost like people are coming to kill him, and it becomes impossible to proceed without going to the basement and sabotaging the generators. There's just like too big of a bottleneck. There's no way around it.
Yep. And the generator, when we go down, has a lot of the disintegrator beam lasers. So you need a
Hmm.
guard to come over and use his body as a key to get over
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
Once you do so, you can get into the main castle, and then you have to head down to these catacombs under the castle. There's poison gas down here, which is a new mechanic. It will lay low
Hmm.
in an area. Enemies will have gas masks, but you do not. You can only be down there for a certain amount of time. You get a little poison meter that fills up.
Yeah.
And they also introduce here grappling points that will collapse. They're rusted.
Hmm.
So you can only stay on them for a moment before they start shaking and falling like the donut blocks.
Yes. Yeah. And we're eventually going to get to a point where there are floors that will fall away. Thankfully, this never creates like a problem where you are absolutely stuck in a
Mm-hmm.
situation. They're used judiciously. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is where guards get night vision goggles.
Yeah.
And you get the distraction flares in an earlier level that can be used against them. Like I said, by this point, I was not really going by sight. Really, it was more by which direction they were facing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also a thing too where like if you make them look another way and stab them in the back, it doesn't matter whether they can see at night.
Right.
I can imagine those being more useful if you were trying to play a non-lethal playthrough.
Mhm.
To get to the goal of this, there's a cistern here with a trapdoor you need to get to. You have to sabotage this gas exchanger to clear this tunnel, and this generator to clear some lasers blocking the way.
Yeah.
And tripping the generator opens the door that floods the area with guards.
Yeah.
There,
It's a good
fill in
trick.
where you were. Yeah, good trick, and also just it's a way of forcing you to engage with a high density enemy area, even if you've been playing very carefully.
Hmm.
Like you've been doing everything you can. It's been in your power to avoid this scenario
Yeah.
up until this point. But they're like, how would you deal with this?
Hmm.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Introducing us to the next chapter, Above a Bottomless Chasm.
Yeah. We are down in the depths. We're in
Mm-hmm.
the kind of the deeper parts of the sewers. And this is mostly a platforming level at the start.
Yep.
There is really no floor to the bottom of this. I love how Aura says the bottom is pretty far down, if it even exists at all.
Yeah. This is one of those infinite sewers.
Yeah.
The and this is the collapsing grapple points are the big thing here. Floors and grapple points that crumble away to make the platforming more challenging.
Yeah.
Like there isn't a radius to your grapple.
Hmm.
If you can see it, you can grapple to it. So
Yeah.
they have to do something like this to make it so you're not just tapping the button. This
Hmm.
could have been a Uncharted wall climbing sequence.
Yeah.
Like a barely interactive, just you move through the level. But there's a little bit of timing involved because of these crumbling bits.
Yeah, yeah. And often, like, there are like leaps of faith that you have to take. Like by this point, it is trusting you to know that you can freeze time to select a
Yes.
grapple. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, there are also these boxes that float through that the lasers cannot pierce, but you can ride on.
yeah.
Similar to Super Mario World or Celeste.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
if you
Celeste
think
is
with
good. Yeah.
like a less challenging Celeste because you can grip to the wall as long as you want. There's no meter.
Hmm.
And you have to rotate on these. Like it's kind of fun. Like you'll go, a laser will be coming from the side, you're hanging on the other side, but then a laser will be coming from the top. So you have to go hang on the bottom
Hmm.
to get by. So, good, reasonable, fun video gaming
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Aura is kind of giving you a little bit of lore about the tattoos, saying like, yeah, people who take the mark, they used to be called the Severed because they were just cut off from the rest of the clan. Even if they satisfied their mission, they were outcast because they knew eventually they would go crazy.
Yep.
Like they would either be killed by everybody or they would end up killing everybody.
Yeah. One or the other. You reach a point where there's this huge grate you have to open, which is this big arena room. When you pull the lever, it starts a timer. And guards come in, guards and dogs, you have to avoid them. This is good. I like this encounter a lot. They will check the vents,
Yep.
which is rare.
Yeah.
They're learning. And eventually they start flooding the chamber with poison gas, so only the top half is available to you.
Yeah.
This is a really memorable and good encounter, I think.
Hmm. Yeah.
One of the highlights of the game, IMO.
Man, this is like a turn off in a worse game. Like,
Mhm.
okay, doors are locked, survive, combat or, even like worse stealth or whatever, until we decide you can go forward. Like here the play is solid enough that I feel pretty good about it. And also because they are on a patrol and searching for you, it is not the, predictable deterministic Mark of the Ninja
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff, but the cleanness of, how things are communicated to you and kind of the discreetness of your actions still work in your favor. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's also a thing too where I think this works because it's contrast with everything else the game does.
Yes.
The I'm going to lock you in an arena and you have to just survive guards until till time runs out is only a fun gameplay mode if you don't overuse it.
Yeah.
And here it's the only time it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Is right here. Like it switches it up as opposed to being a highly artificial primary gameplay mode
Yeah.
for it.
I think there's like 2 other times that it happens.
Only
So we don't
rare.
have to go. We only so we don't have to go back on it when we get them later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's rare at the very least. It's not the primary mode. There's also not a lot of even though it's not exactly the same gameplay thing. There's not a lot of like hyperlight drifter, like clear all the enemies before you can move on. This feels like the change of pace that it is.
Yes.
Yeah. This once the door opens, we leave, and this introduces the chapter, The Inner Keep.
Mm-hmm. The first part here, not really a whole lot new. There's lots of up and down and kind of over these castle buildings as you're headed toward the inner keep.
Mm-hmm.
I found it easier to go over the roofs than to get through the hallways, the actual full buildings and such.
Mm-hmm.
There are patrols and stuff up there, but it is more of like a platforming challenge, quote unquote,
Yeah.
this game's version of it than stealth problem.
Yeah, and there are fewer enemies. Like there you have another. You were lacking a dimension to, you don't have a ceiling to come at them from, but there are fewer enemies. I also went over buildings whenever I could.
Mm-hmm.
Partway through this, we're introduced to our first like heavy. We've had the shield guys before. These are the special forces. They're super buff, and you cannot surprise attack them. They're too strong. So you have to daze them, which daze is not a verb that has popped up a lot so far. Like it's not like you just have a thing that dazes enemies instantly. You have to daze them if you want to kill them. I typically did not kill them. If I did, I tricked guys into killing them for me by terrorizing them.
Yeah.
But I did not get a lot of successful daze and then kills. Like even though I daze them, they don't stay dazed for very long.
No.
It's
like dazing I think it is anything that would have killed them will put them into a short little daze. So if I absolutely needed to kill one of these guys to get through a bottleneck, the way that you do it is with a spike mine. You put one of those down in a place where they're going to walk over it, and then that makes it so that you can kill them. If you try to kill them without dazing them first, they will pick you up by your neck and throw you on the ground, which kills you.
Yeah, they know sail. Yeah. But not too big a deal. A reasonable verb for this. A cool thing about this game being as short and contained as it is when we compare it to Arkham, one of the things that I find frustrating about Arkham games is that they're this weird escalation of measures and countermeasures, right? Like every time they introduce a new enemy, the trick is it's immune to a thing you can do.
Yes.
Like here's the shield enemies, here are the shock enemies, here are the knife enemies. Like they just keep doing it. Here they do shield enemies and these big guys, and then that's basically it.
Mm-hmm.
You're never. It's not a very complicated like tech tree of techniques you have to. Whatever that thing is where people put their fist on top of each other.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that was never clear.
That?
I don't know.
Yeah, but you're doing that when you're playing Arkham. You're not doing that here.
Yeah. And just not very many enemies. These guys, when they show up, it never stops being a problem.
Yeah. There's a little side area where you can flood a place with gas to get honor and kill guys. And then we have this fun little bit where we can either disable the helicopter or kill the pilot to stop Karajan from escaping. I killed the pilot. For this through a spike mine. I threw a spike mine now next to him, and then Karajan could not escape.
Yeah, I disabled the helicopter by sabotaging the fuel pump. It just looked easier based on the little pan over to the different areas. It didn't end up being easier because there was a big surprise. I think there was like traps around it that activated, but it was fun. Fun regardless. I like that it is not the same as getting the transponder, like, oh, kill this guy or pickpocket him. Both require basically the same. You got to get next to him and press a button,
Yeah.
right? With this, it's
Yeah.
like two different sections of level that you go through.
Yeah. It's also a rare, like, it is a more meaningful gameplay choice, and the game doesn't do tons of these things.
Hmm.
So again, refreshing when it happens, like
Yeah.
two different gameplay modes you can do. We backtrack to get to him. He's cowering, and we start the chapter, A Blade at His Neck,
Yeah.
where we have to get to Karajan, where he's freaking out.
Karajan's End. Yeah.
Yes.
We need two keys from two different guards in his tower.
Mhm.
And, I get both of them. It's literally just you go to two different sections of the level. It's
Yep.
fine.
And
Uh,
murder or pickpocket. You
yeah.
guys.
Oh, I like that. Pickpocket.
Yeah,
You pickpocket them.
Pickpock, you don't stop.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then climb up to the top of the tower where he is literally cowering. He's like in his panic room. You've got to disable his security to even get close to him.
Yes. Yep. When you destroy the generator or disable security, open the door, guards flood this tower.
Yeah.
And he's there, he's cowering, but he's surrounded by guards. It's a well-defended position. This is another area where you have a bunch of different ways you can do it.
Yeah.
Take out the guards. You can get to him from a distance. If you can get a spike mine near him and get him to move, which you can do by throwing a dart at his face. But guards will see you. You can also go in from outside the building, go in through the top.
Yeah.
And get into a safe room there.
Yeah.
The lights are out here. He cannot see you, and you kill him.
Yeah.
You murder him. He's a bad guy.
I like this. I really like that he's just cowering in the dark in this metal box, and
Yep.
you're standing face to face when you stab him, but like he literally does not know that it is coming.
Yep. Merciful.
Badass. So we return to the clan headquarters, and we find it full of military gear from Hessian. Azai sent us there so he could steal this equipment, it seems.
Yep. You've done this, and he sent his other little smurfs to go grab all this stuff. Aura says, like, hey, he's going to want you to kill yourself. Don't do it. Something's going on. Don't murder yourself.
Uh-huh.
And we find a note from Dosen, the tattooist, or the honorable one. He's like, I've gone to the greenhouse to get answers. We walk to the central chamber where his eye is waiting for the ceremony of suicide. And it looks like we're about to kill ourselves, but instead we stab our sword into the ground and smoke bomb out.
Yeah.
As Zai sends the guards after you. So now we are a wanted man and enter into Act 3 here.
Yeah.
We've been John Wick parabellumed.
And we go to a shattered stronghold. We've actually traveled far. This is kind of the globe-trotting part. We've gone to the Middle East. When Dosan talked about going to the greenhouse, he meant the place where this flower is grown, that the ink is made from. Yeah.
And this level introduces traps. It's all ruined buildings, and there are lots of booby traps in it. They explode if you get near them, so they'll alert bandits, but you can also knock them down, and they will explode enemies.
Yeah.
Which is fun, or if they walk over them. They also introduce a mechanic here where partway through a level, a sandstorm rolls in, which reduces your visibility and enemy visibility.
Yeah. Your visibility if you are not using the detective vision.
Yes. Yeah. That's how you get around this.
Yeah. It's an environmental effect that does not actually hinder you very much. It's asymmetrical. It gives, it puts the enemy at a disadvantage, but it does not put you that much.
Yes. Yeah. And we find Dosen. He is chained up. The bandits grabbed him and said, hey, make us mark. And he refused. So we had to find the key to his chains and recover his tattooing tools.
Right.
This is a little like go do the task. Go find the two things.
Literally just it's like three things. Get the get the flower, get the ink, get the tools.
Yes.
It's
a little silly.
It's a little video gamey. To get the tools, you have to go up the shaft where there are tripwires rigged to dart shooters. So you have to raise this crate up to block the darts as you trip the wires. Clearing them. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, I like this. I like this little encounter. And the latter part of this level is full of these noise traps that make noise when you get on them. So you have to be very aware of your environment. Here. Yeah. You go further underground to get the ink. This is blocked by a crate that we need to raise with a chain. And it lowers slowly when you let go. It doesn't lock into place. There's two kinds of video game chains. So you have to hurry up and grab it. You return to Dos and you let him free. And he says like, hey, the flowers have been dead for more than a year.
Right.
I'm going to give you one last mark so you can stop Azai, back in it.
Yeah. And this gives you like what has to be an explicitly magical power. Like even more, yeah. It's so I say that and I make a point about that because in the interviews, it is very funny because people ask like, so like what supernatural is going on, and the director says nothing supernatural.
Well, not the case, my friend.
Nope.
Stopping time and teleporting are both magical, and
Yeah.
those are not the old ways.
No.
Uh, you get this final tattoo, super tattoo of a panther.
It's a panther,
Yeah.
badass.
Yep.
But not as badass as men come in and gun him down. And
Yep.
we have to escape into the sandstorm with Dosun's body.
Yeah. And if you did not shed a tear when Dosen died,
Mm.
I don't know what gamer soul you have.
Tearjerker.
We do hashtag tearjerker. You do this short section where you walk Dosen's body to a ruin where we bury him. And once you stop sobbing, you learn about the Mark of Serenity, which gives you a blink.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot have a distraction item at the same time you have this. And you don't have, this is where you don't have your sword
Yeah.
as well. Yeah. So you just have the blink. It's a cool, good, again, something if they overused it would be really obnoxious, but
Yeah.
just this one time, it's pretty cool. This disempowerment, you had to get through these explosives that would ordinarily be instant, like these Sen's Fortress swinging blades and shit, which you can do with this blink.
Yes. Yeah. Stealth kills are unavailable to you. Like this is forcing you to deal with a new enemy, these stalkers, which are ninjas that have like basically every sensor suite on them. They've got
They're
like
equipped with the crap that they stole. Like the idea is this is the old ways plus technology.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all like little Sam Fishers. They all have night vision goggles and stuff. They look like Omar from Deus Ex Invisible War.
Cool reference.
Hey man, this is the coolest part of that game. You don't remember the Omar? I can't help you.
Yeah, the Omar are good. It's just funny that you say that like anybody will remember it.
Hey, if the Omar live rent free in my head.
Okay, fine.
I'm 24/7 balling Omar.
All right. Oh man. So these are presented as a huge problem. What's weird about them is they've got like a submachine gun. So and because submachine guns in video games have to be the most useless things imaginable, like they can just kind of spray you for a long time with it and you can get away. Like,
oh man, yeah. If video games have taught me anything, it's that I could stand up to a submachine gun for a while.
oh yeah.
If somebody wanted to shoot me, I really hope that's the weapon they're using because I could shrug off most of that.
Oh yeah, no, it just bounces off of you. These Derringers are powerful weak.
They're incredibly powerful weak in a rapid fire Derringer. Yeah, God, I hate the submachine gun class of weapons.
Yeah. Oh man. So you get past these stalkers and you go into a long section of full of traps, other soldiers, and this is fun because you do not have your weapon for stealth kills, but you do have your darts, and you can activate these traps to kill enemies, which is neat.
Turn it against them, which feels cool and ninja-y. You eventually have to get to this part where there's a switch under a sniper that opens a manhole you're going to have to get into. So you have to actually teleport through the sniper's laser, which, previously would be very deadly. It's the type of teleport where you actually teleport, not where you just move really fast through the space.
Mm-hmm.
So you will not be seen through this. Even though I think in the fiction, you're just moving very fast.
Yeah.
But in the last portion of this, there's a trap and stalker section with the dark tunnels with like much tighter margins on the timing. This is basically the mechanical, very near the mechanical climax of the game.
Yes.
Lots of tripwires and a lot of these stalkers who, with enough submachine gun fire, will inconvenience you.
It delivers 60 stern warnings per second.
Yeah. My wrist has never been more slapped.
So you reach the end of the level, and Aura puts together that Azai wants to use the Hessian technology to make all of the ninjas into stalkers.
You think?
We have to kill them and put a stop to it. She's characterizing it like they're stalkers, like from fucking Half-Life 2. That there's something being replaced about them.
It's real silly.
Yeah,
like, we cannot have the ninjas use technology. Silly. We go to the final chapter, the return here. We get into the headquarters. We have to go through the secret entrance. And they introduced some Zelda shit
Yeah.
to this in the last hour, which I think is a mistake. I think this is pretty dumb. It's, remember the secret riddle, hidden in light, shown in shadow. And just, first of all, that's not a riddle. That's not esoteric at all. It just tells you what it is.
Yeah.
It just means that there are these weird little demon blocks that will they'll appear or disappear depending on whether they have light on them.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's exceedingly Zelda.
Yeah.
There's not one challenging puzzle with these.
No, it's literally just a task for you to do, by rotating these spotlights.
It does really feel like, when this game, one of the things I like about it is that it's so compact and light. The fact that it's in the final level, it's finally like swings for an absolute miss, of trying to break things up. It's like this game is as long as not only as it needs to be, but as it could be. It really does feel a little bit like it's a little weird they didn't make a sequel since it was such a big success, but it also they really wrung every drop out of this.
Yeah.
If this is the kind of stuff they would expand this, if they're going to continue it, no thanks.
Yeah.
This is not particularly imaginative or fun to engage with.
Yeah. And I really respect that, if that was the thought process, I respect that that's what they came to. Same. As opposed to trying to, I mean, this was a pretty successful game, right?
Yeah. You could have cashed out. Like the Klee promise is like, we will never not make air and insurance and we will never do the same genre twice. Like everything is going to be a brand new genre. We're going to try them all.
That's the two things I know about Clay. Yeah.
Yep, it's bizarre. Like I guess with Shank 2, but other than Shank 2, they never did it.
Yeah.
Everything is wildly different.
Yeah. So, it's nice to be able to depend on that. But also like the fact that this is introduced just at the last, at the last level kind of highlights like, oh yeah, okay, they have the stumble here at the end, but also everything before this was pretty good, as far as gimmicks that they added. Nothing was like overtly too much of a drag.
No. Again, it's the weird way this game achieves its BB plusness, partly through virtue of not fucking up.
Yeah.
More than anything. Like, yeah, absolutely. Like this stands in contrast.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Aura kind of gives away the game here a little bit, saying, "Hey, there's this possibility that that as the mark progresses, you're going to get hallucinations. You're going to see enemies who aren't there." And she says, "If your mind thinks you've been shot, your body will believe it. So if something happens in the game, real life will be implicated somehow."
Second edition illusion rules,
right?
Shadow spell or whatever. Next, we had to go through some subway tunnels. We have to time our movement between passing trains through here. This is fine as a gameplay addition. Not particularly great, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Some of them are just tight enough to be kind of fun, kind of thrilling. You have to recover your weapons from the watchtower to get all your gear back. You move a light to create a block that will stop the darts from hitting you because the darts are hidden in light, shown in shadow, to stop the darts from getting you to make your way up there and get your weapons.
Yeah. And then you've got just this big mechanical climax kind of deal, going up this, going all the way up to the main compound, mixing up the light puzzle, stalkers, regular enemies. This is a bit of a fall down compared to the previous level, where the stalkers are out. Just like, this is a big mix 'em up gameplay challenge, but the inclusion of the light puzzles makes it feel compromised. Right.
Yeah. A little sillier. It's also not as hard as the last level.
Yeah.
Was, like that we're on a slope to the end.
Yes.
Here. We direct these two lights, as we mentioned, to get these faces, to trek our way in, to make these statues release the switch, which we then open our way forward. We pull this big lever and the guards disappear. They weren't real. When we killed them, they weren't real either. They turned into smoke.
Yeah.
But the stalkers come in, they're presumably real, and we have to survive until the doors open. Again, a second one of these with much harder enemies.
Yeah, it is fun and tense, avoiding these stalkers in this very tight quarters. Yep, I think it's 3 of them with overlapping coverage. It's neat.
And then we get the final level, which is like basically a cutscene. The door opens, Azai welcomes us home, and the cutscene that we get in A Tale from the Past reveals that Aura is a hallucination. Dun dun dun. But she says, "No, I'm still right about Azai. I'm a hallucination. I came from you, but also I'm your subconscious or whatever."
Yeah.
The
Uh,
clan is not worth saving.
right. And you pick up the sacred sword of the clan. Isaiah's just kind of like, as he's walked away, he's in the inner sanctum, and you have to walk through this kind of cool stylized inkscape of the story
Yes.
beats so far. Repetition of story beats, not my favorite thing, but it's a neat visual style that you get
It's a
here.
super cool visual style. I wish the story beats were more impactful. Like this
Yeah.
game is so short and compact that like being like, hey man, remember when you killed Hessian? Like this is like an
I,
hour ago.
I do.
Like,
Yeah, that was
yeah,
earlier this afternoon before my pee break and when I got more
yeah,
coffee.
yeah. Oh, you mean before dinner? Yeah. I remember that. It was impactful. Again, this idea that you are meant to just be playing these levels over and over, almost
Mhm.
like it feels like they want them to feel these moments to feel kind of like sacred and momentous.
Yes.
And it didn't entice me to get there.
Right.
You reach Azai and Aura, and you have to choose which one do you kill. I chose Azai because ninjas can't be ninjas if they use guns. I agree with this insane point. About keeping the clan and its magic tattoo past that no longer exists.
Yeah, I wanted to see what would happen if I killed this eye, and yeah, you go crazy. It's the bad ending of Sekiro, right?
Yeah, you turn
You
into
turn
a
it.
demon and whisk away and kill the clan, and who cares?
Yeah.
I don't care about this clan of ninja. I don't know what good they're doing for the world. Um, if you kill Aura, you're actually killing yourself.
Yeah.
It turns out it's a stomach stab.
Yeah. It's like you grab her from behind and like stab her in the stomach, but it's just you,
Yeah.
and then you're gone.
It's ambiguous as to whether that is a good thing because his eye is not like you don't got to hand it to his eye.
No, no.
It has that 2012 ambiguity, but without any stakes. Like I cannot in a million years imagine caring about this clan.
Yeah,
So when I got to this ending, I was just really like, oh, yeah, all right.
yeah. Okay, cool.
Did it. Cool. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I
that's Mark of the Ninja.
That's Merc and the Ninja. I really don't like that they kind of like pull a how much of this was a dream. Who or what were you really killing in all of this?
Yeah.
Like
They look like monsters to you? They look like ninjas to you?
yeah, kind of. Yeah, and just that's not my favorite beat in this, just because I don't know. It feels a little bit like them pretending to a more complex story than like, oh yeah, this is just a fun Saturday morning cartoon. Like if
Yeah.
it just comfortably lived in the space of being a 2003 Nickelodeon cartoon, it's like, oh yeah, this is Ben 10 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Then that I think would have probably sold better to me. But that's just a dumb thing that happens at the end and doesn't really take away from like how mechanically fun this is.
Well, it doesn't take away from it. I think it's indicative of the fact that the narrative half of this is really lacking.
Yeah,
This is a game that I can imagine folk who have a problem seeing games in wireframe
oh
will
yeah,
really struggle with. Like
yes.
this entirely was basically a VR mission to me. And on that level, it was very fun. Like it was
Mhm.
appropriately aimed as a VR mission snack.
Yeah.
The sections where it was asking me to care about the story were brief enough that they didn't interfere with my enjoyment that much.
Mhm.
But I can't, if it were it would take a lot more than just fixing the end to be a good Saturday morning cartoon. Like up until this point, it'd have to be fun.
Mhm.
There's one memorable cutscene in this, which is the Hessian with the wine. And
Yeah,
that's not
yeah.
even that fun. Like it's not a very fun performance. It's kind of deliciously evil, but not in a way that makes you like sit up.
Mhm.
It just the narrative half of this game I think is a total failure, even if I wasn't a little sick of ninjas.
Yeah.
It just ends up being a very, very fun ninja simulator through massive player empowerment, like
Mhm.
through making you incredibly powerful and have perfect information.
Yeah.
It's the thing. I don't want this to replace all stealth games because I like being on the back foot more than I am
Mhm.
in this game. And I like spaces more than this game does. I don't want this to replace anything, but I really like that it exists.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call it the best stealth game or anything like that, but it's a worthy pillar in like the stealth, thing with a lot of pillars.
Yeah.
Parthenon.
Mhm. The
Yeah.
Pantheon? You
Yeah.
mean?
Pantheon. There we go.
Yeah, there we
The stealth Parthenon,
Yeah.
you know,
It's yeah, like it's wild to call this a modest product knowing how difficult animation is. Like even something as computer aided as this is still labor intensive, right?
Yeah.
There's an awful lot put into the presentation of this, like there is with a lot of Clay games. However, when I call it modest, I mean what we were talking about with this not getting a sequel, or it's only stumbling mechanically when they add in the light blocks, just as kind of being a big whiff at the end. Just like, yeah, this is constrained. It's not telling a huge story. It is kind of more focused on a handful of mechanics, and obsessed with kind of the feel of and exploring this 2D stealth space, and has like a great deal of kind of discretion of when to start pulling away,
Yeah.
and when to kind of stop going. And I think that a lot of that is a product of the play testing that we know they did, because of the commentary and the interviews and things like that. But it's just really apparent that this is incredibly polished, and I think that is to a good end.
Yeah. Very, very clean. It's hard for me to think of a cleaner execution on 2D stealth.
Yeah.
Or side scrolling 2D stealth. You
Yeah.
know, the biggest comparison point that this has to me is Gunpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And Gunpoint is a one man project.
Yes.
Like I really like Gunpoint, but that is not as developed as this.
Yes.
As kind of a final execution of that idea, this really works.
Yeah,
I can understand preferring the messiness, to this 100%.
Yes.
But for me, as this ended up feeling like, I don't know, like a Jimmy John's sandwich, or something like that. Like, this is good. It's a meal. I'm no longer hungry. I'm not going to think about it that much after this, but it was, had some nutrition in it, and, not going to be in my pantheon, but solid, very solid.
Extremely solid. Yeah.
Thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a non-white, non-cis, non-straight, non-guy creator, and you'd like us to highlight one of your projects, please send me an email at Gary@Duckfeed.tv. Let me know if how to shout you out. Let me know your pronouns, all that stuff. And again, to clarify, I want to hear from people directly. Mm-hmm. So if you know somebody who might benefit from that or who might appreciate it, have them reach out to me, or at least copy them on the email so I know that it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But cool. That is always open. We've those have kind of gone down to a trickle. I think that's fine. Mm-hmm. This is not a thing that we're beholden to do. It's not a court mandate. I just want to be able to not pull the ladder up after us. So let me know if we can help with that.
Yeah. If you have thoughts about Mark of the Ninja or the other games we are covering this month, no, there's not enough time for you to respond. Nope. Sorry, we're recording the dispatch early this month because of the Midwest Gaming Classic.
Yeah, which we're going to.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's too late to write in for these games. Check out that dispatch. But if you want to write in about next month's games, you can.
Yeah.
Which are Ender Lilies, Quietus of the Nights, The Sexy Brutale, and The Quarry.
Yes. Big month. We've got some ideas about what we're doing in April as well. Good first quarter we got going here.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you want to support a game or sponsor a game, you can do so at our Patreon. You can also get exclusive content, get the bonus episode. So this month, which will be Crisis, and next month will be The Quarry, and all the back ones.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. And we should have said it before. Thanks again to Brian for demanding.
Huge thanks.
Yeah. For executive producing and picking Mark of the Ninja.
Yeah, absolutely. We alluded to this. If you are in the Midwest, the Midwest Gaming Classic is happening at the end of the month. We will be there.
Mm-hmm.
March 31st to April 2nd.
Yep. Plans are coming together. We have a table. Yes.
Yep. We do. Yeah. The table is set. We have a panel. I think it's on Sunday. We're still getting everything together. We can announce the topic, I think.
We can.
At this point. So if you're there, come. It's going to be participatory. We're talking about 7 out of 10 games. So there's been discourse around this before. We've talked about it before. Like, what makes a 7 out of 10 and what makes a 7 out of 10 still worth playing?
Mm-hmm.
and what are some of our favorite 7 out of 10s, and what are some of your favorites? If you're
Yeah, we
there,
want
we want to open up the floor and talk to people about some of the games that are their favorites that are not absolute blockbusters.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is a fertile topic, and I'm excited to talk about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also worth noting that weekend, if you're going to come, just to sweeten the pot for everybody. So, Mr. Bob Mackey from Retronauts will be joining us for that
Hmm.
panel, and we will be joining Retronauts for their panel as
Yeah.
well. So it is cross contamination, baby. The Salmonella podcast edition. Yeah, so it's going to be a real fun time. It's going to be a blast.
Which I mean, we're obviously the salmonella in that
Yeah.
equation, right? Okay,
But
cool.
whatever happens when Bob joins us, it's like if you just have a plate of salmonella and you drop like a healthy yeast into it. You know,
I don't care for this one bit. Uh,
no. All right.
so it's going to be a good time, and if you see us there, probably not up to hugging just yet, but
No,
we would be very happy to we're
but
very
going for
happy
a
to hear
quick
from you.
kiss, and it's all right with uninterrupted eye contact. Actually, under no circumstances should you kiss us.
Please don't.
The married point to ring. Yeah. So join us. We'd love to say hi. We'll have buttons and stickers and all that jazz for you.
Yeah. Rate or review us if you're able to and haven't
Mhm.
already, and feel the and feel the inclination. Tell your friends, subscribe, all the good deals. And last but very much not least, huge thanks to our producer Gwen.
We appreciate Gwen so much.
Yeah,
Second episode of Quackstack got recorded and it was real fun.
yeah,
Gwen is
yeah.
a treat.
Talking about bands that we're embarrassed that we liked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, real good time.
Yeah.
And until next time, what should they watch out for, Cole?
Watch out for. Wait a minute. Does that ninja have a gun? Give it to me. Open your mouth. What's in your mouth?